My name is Lucy Bennett. I'm 34 years old, and 6 weeks before I was supposed to propose, I learned something I should have understood much earlier. Devotion doesn't always look like love. Sometimes it looks like patience stretched too thin. Sometimes it sounds like reassurance repeated just a little too often. And sometimes it hides inside promises that slowly start turning into expectations. For 4 years, I believed Daniel Reeves and I were building something real, something steady, something grounded. The kind of relationship that didn't need to be loud to feel secure. Daniel was 31, the kind of man people trusted almost immediately without ever questioning why. He wasn't flashy, not in the beginning, just warm, attentive, present in a way that made you feel safe. And for a long time, that was enough. I bought my condo years before I met him, back when my life was simpler. Long work days, quiet dinners, predictable routines. It wasn't luxury, but it was mine. Every inch of it represented something I had built for myself. So when Daniel moved in 16 months ago, it felt natural. Like two lives aligning in the direction they were always meant to go. We had our rhythm. Thursday takeout, Sunday grocery runs, shared playlists, a basil plant on the kitchen ledge that refused to stay alive no matter how hard we tried. We kept saying we'd save more, plan more, be more intentional. And I was. 3 weeks before everything fell apart, I bought a ring. $4,860. Hidden in an old camera bag in my closet. I had already booked a dinner reservation for a trip to Savannah in June. Riverside view, quiet table. Everything planned down to the timing. I wasn't guessing about our future. I was certain. That's what made Wednesday feel like a fracture instead of a warning. At 4:18 p.m., Daniel texted me. "We need to talk somewhere neutral tonight." Neutral. Like we were negotiating terms instead of sharing a life. He chose a small restaurant off Bayshore. I got there early. Sat at a table near the window. Watched the light shift across the water and tried to tell myself I was overthinking. Then he walked in. White shirt, hairstyled, calm, too calm. The kind of calm people wear when they want credit for honesty before they do something cruel. I asked what was going on. He didn't answer right away. Just looked at me like he was measuring how much damage I could take. Then he said her name. Madison. His ex-girlfriend, the one he had spent years describing as chaotic, intense, immature. Over. I felt something tighten in my chest. How long? I asked. About 2 weeks, he said. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of conversations I knew nothing about. 2 weeks of something growing quietly behind the life we were supposedly building together. They were just talking at first, he said quickly, but it brought up things. What things? He hesitated. Chemistry, curiosity, just unresolved feelings. Not love, he added. Not serious. Just enough to matter. And then he said it, the sentence that ended everything. "I think I need one night with her," he said carefully, "to know if it's still there." For a second, I thought I had misheard him. "You need what?" "One night," he repeated. "To be certain." Certain. Like I was something he could return to after testing an old version of himself. I stared at him, waiting for him to hear himself. He didn't. Instead, he leaned forward slightly, voice softening like that would make it better. "What we have is real, Lucy. It's stable. It's good. But I don't want to marry you while wondering if something unresolved is still out there." I felt something inside me go very, very still. He kept talking, calling it honesty, calling it maturity, calling it something we should work through together. "If I come back knowing it's gone," he said, "then I can choose you fully." Choose me fully, like I was an option, waiting to be confirmed. I asked him, quietly, "Do you hear yourself right now?" His expression cracked just a little. "I'm trying to do this the right way," he said, Most people would just cheat. That was supposed to make it better. That was supposed to make me grateful. I felt my hands go cold against the table. He reached for them. I pulled back. "Lucy," he said, softer now. "I love you. You're home. That's why I want to do this now, before we take the next step. Before I proposed. Before I gave him everything he was asking me to protect." And suddenly, it all made sense. He wasn't asking for permission. He was asking for insurance. Insurance that I would still be there after he tested whether his past felt more exciting than his future. I picked up my napkin, folded it once, set it down, and then I said the only thing that felt honest. "Then stay gone." No raised voice, no tears, no negotiation. Just clarity. His face changed instantly, like he had expected resistance, but not refusal. "Lucy," he started. I stood up, left cash on the table, walked out. He followed me onto the sidewalk. "Don't do this like that," he said, voice tightening. I turned once. "You already did." Then I walked away. I made it to my car before the shaking started. Sat there, in the driver's seat, hands gripping the wheel, trying to breathe through something that felt like it was tearing me open from the inside. I cried for 12 minutes. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. Because calm doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It just means the pain got there first and burned everything extra away. On the drive home, I called my older sister, Rachel. I told her exactly what he said. She went quiet for 3 seconds. Then she said, "Pack his things before you talk yourself into forgiving something that was designed to break you." So I did. That night, I rented a storage unit online, and I started packing, carefully. Folding his clothes, wrapping framed photos in towels, separating toiletries, placing his shoes into boxes, like I was organizing a life that had already ended. He texted while I worked. "Please don't be dramatic. I haven't even done anything yet. I'm just trying to be honest." And then the one that stayed with me. "If you really loved me, you'd let me be certain." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I kept packing. By 2:40 a.m., my condo looked like a place Daniel had once stayed, not lived. And somewhere between the last box and the silence that followed, I realized something I couldn't unsee. He didn't think he was risking me. He thought I'd wait. Thursday morning, I woke up after maybe 2 hours of sleep, with my phone still on the nightstand, face down, like it had become something dangerous. For a few seconds, I forgot. Then I saw the boxes stacked by the door. Daniel's jacket was gone from the chair. His watch wasn't on the dresser. His half-used cologne bottle wasn't sitting beside my perfume anymore. Absence has a shape. That morning, it looked like empty spaces where someone had trained me to expect a life. I didn't make coffee. I didn't trust my hands with hot water. Instead, I called the condo association and had his parking access and building fob deactivated. Then I changed the smart lock code, the Wi-Fi password, the streaming logins, everything that still made him feel attached to my home by habit. By lunch, I moved his boxes into storage. I left 2 overnight bags, his laptop bag, and a laundry basket of essentials in the package room downstairs with an envelope taped on top. "Your belongings are in storage through May 31st. I'll send the code when you confirm a pickup plan. Do not come upstairs unannounced." It felt cold. It also felt necessary. At 8:17 that evening, Daniel came upstairs anyway. The knock was soft at first, then harder. Then I heard the keypad beep. Once, twice, the old code failing. I stood on the other side of the door, barefoot on the tile, my heart pounding in a way that made me angry. "Lucy," he said through the door. "Please." I opened it with the chain still on, just enough for him to see the entryway, just enough for him to understand. His shoes were gone, his gym bag was gone. The framed photo wall we made last summer was already down. His eyes moved over the empty spaces, like he was seeing the breakup for the first time. "You really packed everything?" he whispered. "Yes." "You're ending us over one night I didn't even take?" "No," I said. I'm ending us because 4 years with me still wasn't enough for you to stop auditioning your past. His face tightened. That's not fair. What part? I came to you before anything happened. You came to me asking permission to make me disposable. He shook his head, eyes wet now. I was trying to respect you. That almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. Respect would have been ending things before asking me to wait while you checked if Madison still felt exciting. He cried then. Real tears. The kind that once would have undone me. But that night, all they did was confirm what I already knew. He wasn't sorry for the request. He was terrified of the consequence. I handed him the storage paperwork through the gap. I hope it was worth asking. Then I shut the door. Afterward, I sat on the kitchen floor with the ring box in my hand and let the future die. The next few days were quiet, in the worst way. No screaming, no smashed plates, no dramatic collapse. Just absence. His coffee mug missing from the drying rack because I had packed it. His charger no longer dangling from the side table. The couch cushion no longer dipped in the place where he used to sit. Heartbreak lives in small, practical spaces. Friday morning, Rachel showed up with iced coffee, a grocery bag, and the kind of expression that meant she had already decided I was eating whether I wanted to or not. She didn't say much at first. She just walked in, put soup in my fridge, wiped down the kitchen counter, and stood there looking at the place where Daniel's shoes used to be. Then she said, "You know he thought you'd negotiate." "I know. That's why you can't." I nodded. But knowing something and surviving it are not the same thing. That afternoon, my friend Trevor dragged me to a boxing class because he said I needed to hit something that wasn't my own memory. He was right. For 45 minutes, I punched a heavy bag until my arms trembled and my lungs burned, and I could finally feel something that wasn't humiliation. Then, the first message came from Daniel's best friend, Alex. Unknown number. Daniel was honest with you. Most men would have just cheated. I stared at it, sweat still drying on my neck. Then I typed back once. Asking for permission to betray me is not honesty. It's advance notice. Blocked. 2 hours later, Daniel emailed my work account. Subject line: "Please don't humiliate me like this." It was 4 paragraphs of careful language and selective guilt. He said he was trying to protect our future from hidden temptation. He said I had reacted from fear. He said my response proved I was insecure around desire, intimacy, and emotional honesty. I saved the email. I did not reply. Saturday morning, I went to my usual coffee shop near Bayshore because I was tired of letting grief shrink my life. Daniel was there, wearing the faded navy sweatshirt I had left at his desk the previous winter. He saw me and stood immediately, eyes filling with tears like he had rehearsed the moment. "Lucy." I turned around and walked out. 10 minutes later, another unknown number texted me. "Really? You can't even look at me?" Blocked again. Saturday evening, Daniel's mother, Elaine, called. I almost didn't answer, but her voice was different from the others. Careful. Embarrassed. She said Daniel's version sounded vague, and she wanted to hear mine before deciding what to say. So I told her. The restaurant, Madison, the 2 weeks of texting, the exact word desire. The part where he expected me to wait while he tested an old spark. Elaine went quiet. Then she sighed in a way that sounded older than her voice. "I can't defend that," she said. "And I'm sorry." For one foolish second, I thought maybe that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Sunday night, building security called me downstairs. Daniel had been sitting in the lobby for almost an hour, telling residents he lived there and asking them to let him upstairs. He had brought a tote bag with my favorite protein bars, a handwritten letter, and the small green bowl from my grandmother's house, the one he had taken to work months ago and somehow never brought back. Security asked if I wanted to speak to him. No. Then they asked if I wanted him formally trespassed from the property. I closed my eyes. Yes. While the guard explained it to him, I could hear Daniel crying through the lobby phone. "I just need 5 minutes," he kept saying. "I just need her to remember us before she makes this something ugly." Something ugly. As if false resident claims, workplace emails, unknown numbers, and unannounced appearances were just romance wrapped in nicer language. After security walked him out, I went downstairs only long enough to collect my grandmother's bowl. I photographed the envelope from the letter without opening it. Monday morning, I called a therapist Rachel recommended. Then I asked the condo association for written confirmation of the trespass notice. Because by then, I understood what this was. It wasn't grief on Daniel's side. It was outrage. Outrage that I had taken him seriously. Outrage that the woman he thought would wait had finally locked the door. 3 weeks later, therapy didn't make the pain disappear. It made it clearer. Dr. Patel didn't ask me how I felt right away. She asked me what hurt most. Betrayal, I said automatically. Then I stopped, because that wasn't the whole truth. The worst part, I corrected, is that he expected loyalty from me while treating me like a waiting room. She nodded once, like that was the answer she had been waiting for. So the injury wasn't just the request, she said. It was the entitlement inside the request. Yes, that was it. That was the thing that had been sitting in my chest like something sharp and unfinished. By week 2, life started moving again. Not dramatically. Not in some cinematic, everything is fixed kind of way. Just slowly. At work, my manager mentioned I was being considered for a regional operations role. More responsibility. More travel. A future that didn't include Daniel's uncertainty. I started running in the mornings along Bayshore, letting the rhythm of my steps replace the noise in my head. Trevor kept pulling me out to meet people, even when I insisted I wasn't ready. That's exactly why you should come, he said. That's how I met Ethan. Ethan Cole, 32, pediatric dentist. Not the kind of man who filled a room. The kind who made it quieter, in a way that felt intentional. We met in a group setting. No pressure, no performance. Just conversation that didn't feel like it was trying to prove anything. He had an easy laugh, the kind that didn't demand attention. It just existed. We talked about nothing important. Parking, bad coffee, the weird way grocery stores are organized. And for the first time in weeks, I felt normal. We didn't exchange numbers that night, he asked. I said yes, and it felt simple. 10 days later, we went on our first date in Channelside. I almost canceled. Grief has a way of making normal things feel like betrayal. Like moving forward means you didn't care enough about what you lost. I stared at my phone for 5 minutes before texting him. Hey, tonight might feel a little weird for me. His reply came almost immediately. Then let's keep it simple. We can split appetizers and complain about parking. I smiled, and that was enough. Dinner was easy. No heavy questions, no emotional landmines. No sense that I was being measured against someone else's past. Just conversation. Just presence. Just normal. I didn't realize how much I had missed that. For a few days after, things stayed quiet. Then, Daniel found out. I don't know how. Mutual friends, probably. What I do know is that he showed up exactly where he wasn't supposed to. It was our second date. Saturday night. Rooftop bar in St. Pete. Warm air, city lights. The kind of atmosphere that makes everything feel just a little more relaxed than it really is. Ethan was halfway through a story about a kid who insisted on bringing a stuffed dinosaur to every dental appointment when I saw him. Daniel, walking straight toward us, wearing the black shirt I bought him for our Charleston trip last fall. Familiar. Deliberate. Cruel. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. Ethan noticed the shift in my face. You okay? He asked. I didn't answer, because Daniel was already there. He stopped beside the table and didn't look at me first. He looked at Ethan. So, he said, voice tight but controlled. This is what replaced 4 years. Ethan didn't react immediately, didn't get defensive, didn't escalate. Just looked at him calmly. I think you need to leave, he said. I stood up. Daniel, I said quietly. Go. He laughed. Not because anything was funny, because he didn't recognize the situation he had created. You packed my life into boxes and started dating before the sheets were even cold, he said. I felt something inside me harden. You asked for a night with someone else, I said. You don't get to comment on my timeline. His jaw tightened. I was trying to be honest. No, I said. You were trying to keep me while you checked if something else felt better. Ethan shifted slightly beside me, not stepping in. Just present, Daniel noticed, and something about that seemed to push him over the edge. Do you even know her? He snapped at Ethan. Do you know what she's like when she shuts down? When she decides she's right and nothing else matters? That was when Ethan stood up, slowly, calmly. I know enough, he said. And I know this isn't your place. The tension snapped. Daniel's hand moved before anyone could stop it. He struck the stem of Ethan's glass hard enough to knock it sideways, spilling the drink across the table. The sound cut through the music. Heads turned. The manager was there within seconds. What's going on here? I want this documented, I said immediately. My voice was steady, in a way that surprised even me. Daniel blinked, like he hadn't expected consequences to arrive that quickly. I just wanted closure, he said, his voice breaking now, shifting from anger to something softer. Something that might have worked, if it hadn't come too late. You lost that when you ignored every boundary I set, I said. The manager called security. Security called the police. By the time the officers arrived, I had already pulled up everything. The texts, the emails, the unknown numbers, the condo trespass notice. Ethan gave his statement. So did the manager. Daniel stood there, hands shaking, trying to explain something that no longer made sense, even to him. I was just trying to fix it, he said. One of the officers looked at me. Has he been contacting you after you told him not to? Yes. Through multiple channels? Yes. He nodded once. You should start a formal report, if you haven't already. I have, I said, and I meant it, because that night wasn't about closure. It was about clarity. Daniel didn't think he had done something unforgivable. He thought he had made a mistake that love should excuse. And when that didn't happen, he tried to force the ending he wanted. But by then, I wasn't part of that story anymore. By Monday morning, everything had a structure. Not emotional, legal. I filed the harassment report before I could second-guess myself. Screenshots, timestamps, copies of emails, the condo trespass notice, the incident report from the rooftop bar. Even the photo of the unopened letter he had left in the lobby. Every piece of it told the same story. Not heartbreak. Persistence. Not love. Entitlement. That same afternoon, Daniel tried a different angle. He contacted my office. Not me directly. My office manager, framing it as concern. He said he was worried about my emotional state, that I had reacted impulsively, that maybe someone at work could encourage me to communicate in a healthier way. Monica forwarded it to me with a single line. I assume this is your ex? Yes, I replied. Legal paperwork may follow. Her response came back within minutes. Understood. He's not allowed in the building. Simple. Clear. Done. But Daniel wasn't finished. 2 days later, his younger sister Jenna reached out through LinkedIn because apparently every other door had been closed. Her message was long, thoughtful, carefully worded. She talked about soul ties, about unresolved passion, about how Daniel had been brave enough to admit desire where most people would lie. I read it once. Then I replied. Brave would have been leaving before asking me to hold still while he checked if his past still felt exciting. Then I blocked her. That evening, his mother called again. This time, she sounded tired, not defensive, not embarrassed, just tired. I told him to leave you alone, she said quietly. He's not listening. I know. I'm not calling to defend him, she added. I just wanted you to know I tried. I believed her. Thank you, I said. But I'm filing for a protective order. There was a pause. Then she said something that stayed with me. He keeps calling it honesty, she said. Because if he calls it selfishness, he has to hear himself. The temporary order was granted that Friday. No contact. No third-party contact. Stay away from my condo, my office, my gym, my car. Clear boundaries.
Legal consequences.
He violated it in less than 48 hours. Saturday morning, I walked out of a grocery store and found a white envelope tucked under my windshield wiper. No stamp, no name, just my car. Inside was a note. I only wanted to feel chosen and desired. You made me feel disposable. I stood there in the parking lot, reading it twice. Not because I didn't understand it, because I did. Perfectly. And that was the problem. That note didn't acknowledge what he had done. It reframed it, turned his choice into a feeling, turned my boundary into cruelty. I added it to the folder, and I kept moving. Court was 8 weeks after that night at the restaurant. I wore a charcoal suit, partly because I had a leadership meeting afterward, partly because I wanted to walk in looking like my life still belonged to me. Daniel arrived in a pale blue shirt, sleeves rolled, softer than I had ever seen him look.
Intentional, strategic,
Fragile in a way people are when they're trying to be forgiven. He had a lawyer. So did I. Rachel had connected me with Claire, who handled protective orders. When it was Daniel's turn, his lawyer framed everything carefully. His client had made a difficult but honest admission inside a serious relationship. He had tried to communicate openly. He had been reacting to a sudden and painful breakup. It sounded reasonable, until it didn't. Claire stood up and walked the judge through the timeline. The dinner. The request. The unknown numbers. The email to my workplace. The lobby incident. The rooftop bar. The note on my car after the temporary order. Piece by piece. No emotion. Just facts. Then it was my turn. Yes, I said. We were together 4 years. Yes, I intended to propose. Yes. He asked for one night with his ex-girlfriend to test whether desire still existed. Yes, I ended the relationship immediately. And yes, after that, he contacted me through new numbers, email, family members, workplace channels, attempted condo access, in-person appearances, and by showing up at a date and creating a public disturbance. Do you have documentation? The judge asked. Yes. She read for a long time. At one point, she read aloud from his email. My reaction proves you are insecure around desire and intimacy. Then, from the note, I only wanted to feel chosen and desired. Then she looked at him. If she ended the relationship when you requested intimacy with another woman, why did you continue contacting her after she clearly withdrew consent for contact? Daniel swallowed. I panicked, he said. I realized too late that she's the one I want. I was trying to fix it. The judge leaned back slightly. Wanting to feel desire, she said calmly, does not give you the right to harass someone who no longer wants a relationship with you. Then she added the sentence that ended everything. You do not get to test old passion while demanding new loyalty. The order was granted. 18 months. No contact. No third-party contact. Stay 500 feet away from me, my home, my workplace, my vehicle. Any violation would trigger criminal consequences. Daniel looked stunned, like consequence had arrived from a place he didn't believe had authority over him. In the hallway afterward, his mother caught my arm. I'm sorry, she said again, quietly. You loved him seriously. He treated that like a guarantee. I nodded. Then I walked away. I went straight to my meeting. Spent 40 minutes discussing logistics projections like my private life hadn't just been reduced to a court order. And somehow, that mattered, because it meant I was still moving. After that, things got better. Not instantly, but steadily. I returned the ring, got part of the money back, used some of it to pay legal fees, used the rest to take Rachel and Trevor out to dinner. I got the promotion. Regional operations lead, more responsibility, more travel, more proof that my life had direction that didn't depend on anyone else's certainty. Ethan and I kept seeing each other, slowly, normally. No tests, no conditions, no hidden comparisons. The first time I apologized for double texting, he laughed. Lucy, he said, that's not needy, That's just how phones work. And I realized how much I had adjusted myself before, how much I had learned to shrink normal things to fit someone else's expectations. As for Daniel, I only know what I didn't ask to know. He took time off work after the court order, posts vague things online now about honesty, about vulnerability, about being misunderstood. People who know the truth aren't confused, but the truth is, I don't spend much time thinking about him anymore. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. In 1,000 small, ordinary ways. I loved him. I was going to choose him. And losing that future changed something in me. But not everything, because I learned something I won't unlearn. Desire isn't sacred just because it feels intense. Chemistry isn't character, and anyone who asks you to stand still while they verify whether their past still excites them isn't protecting your future. They're gambling with your dignity and hoping you'll mistake that for depth. I still live in the same condo. I changed the paint, bought a new couch, moved the basil plant outside, where somehow it finally stopped dying. A month ago, I took that Savannah trip. Just not for the reason I planned. Ethan came with me. We walked along the river, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was competing with a ghost.